Good to see you too. What is up, everyone?
Hey,
Welcome,
Fran.
welcome.
Should we put some
Hi.
music on, you guys? Do we have some music?
Y'all should have told me
Yeah?
earlier. We're DJ Saad over here. I could have prepped for this.
Welcome,
What-
welcome. We're just
Yeah,
letting people to come in. Ooh, we have over 100 already in the room. So excited. In the meantime, let us know where you are calling in from in the chat. So
I'm curious who's coming back after the last one. We got some really, I don't know, Jason, the feedback from the last session was pretty good.
that's good.
Yeah.
You never know with this stuff sometimes. You see a few comments here on LinkedIn. You guys probably got some emails, so I'm glad people got some value. Look
Yeah.
at all
I
these
see some
folks.
people coming back from the first session. So that's awesome.
I read a Pakistan in there. What's up, friends? I'm from Karachi.
Very cool.
Very
DJ's out
cool.
in the house.
So I'm just going to open with some housekeeping rule. Welcome everybody. My name is Christina from Ref Genius. Excited to be here with our super stars. Just sharing some rules, housekeeping rules that we will be recording, and the recording will be available on demand. Just use the same link that you have to watch it on demand. And then questions and answers are always welcome. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to our speakers. Enjoy.
Can I just open with this? Jason, obviously, Toronto, what's up? Yeah, I was speaking to Sam and the rest of the team earlier, and I know we kind of touched on this previously. Let's just use today as a fireside chat. Let's just have a calm, relaxed one. I also should have prepped a little bit more, so this is my cop out. But yeah, let's get into it.
Let's do it, dude.
Yeah.
Where do we want to get started?
You know what? Let's start with this and let's go off a little cuff. Is cold calling dead?
Jessica, why don't you go first?
I think cold calling has its place. I think it's here to stay, unfortunately, for all of those reps out there. I think it's a great way to connect with the decision maker on a somewhat informal basis. And it's a great way to kind of gauge interest and also drive a little sprinkle of value or a little flavor saver of value about the company that you're calling from to try and get in front of the greater team. What about you, Saad?
I do want to hear from Jason, the master on here, but I'll just add, no, to your point, I remember when I interviewed with Michelle, she used to be at Drift and she was like, oh, cold calling, I don't care for cold calling. I'm like, oh, this is why you hired me. You have your emailing and social selling side. I'm a hard seller. I'm a hard cold caller. I used to sell to lawyers and then finance people. Lawyers weren't active on LinkedIn, at least when I started. And I say I started selling us like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. The dynamics have changed. But the two conversations that you can have over an hour back and forth in an email, just pick up the phone, dial, cut through. I still think progressing deals is faster through a call. I still think getting somebody's attention is still faster to a call, but that's kind of what we're talking about today, why we're talking about today, right? It's nailing that is maybe now requires a little bit more prep. But Jason, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, because I know we're talking about objection handling today too, so I want to, kind of answer through that lens.
Yeah.
I've been really interested in something called invisible scripts, and it's what I talk to sales teams about. Literally the first day of training, we talk about it. And invisible scripts are essentially this like thinking that's hard coded whether we acknowledge it consciously or not. So an example of invisible script is, a lot of people go to college and it's not even a decision they really make. It's more about where am I going to go to college, not if I will go to college or not. And we don't even think about, in my case, I dropped out. We don't even think about, is college the best thing for me to do if I want to run a business? We don't even think about that. And invisible scripts come up in how we sell too.
Yeah.
So we have invisible scripts as sales professionals in how we feel like we should communicate to a prospect
Yeah.
when they pick up the phone.
Let's talk more about invisible scripts, Jason. So if I'm a seller, we're starting today. Well, I need to build more selling motion to Dooley right now. This also might seem a little high level to some people. Why did you come up with this idea of invisible scripts? What is your why behind this?
Yeah, I didn't come up with the idea behind the invisible scripts, but it's a phenomenon that's well studied. I think that the reason why this is really fascinating to me, and the reason why I want to talk about it, is we have invisible scripts on how we feel like we should communicate, but your prospects do too. So when you get objections, you got to understand that they kind of fall into two camps. Some people call them shallow objections, brush offs, whatever it might be. But a lot of the objections you get in a cold call are people objecting to being cold called.
Yeah.
Like they have an invisible script, a loop that they go through where, like, a typical habit loop is cue and trigger, behavior, routine, and then reward. Cue, trigger, I pick up the phone and I recognize it's a salesperson, right?
Yeah.
Behavior pattern, not interested.
Yeah.
It's like programmatic. I'm not even going to really think about, you guys, we do this to salespeople all the time in our lives, and we sell. We know the game, and we still tell salespeople not interested instinctually. And the reward the prospect gets for that is that they don't have to go through this awkward conversation where someone's pitching something to them and they don't want it, but they don't feel comfortable saying no and all that other stuff. So I think it's really important, especially with objection handling, to understand what the prospect is objecting to. And being able to disarm them. And we could talk about how to do that, but that's sort of how I think about, objection handling and whether cold calling is dead or not. And just because you get objections doesn't mean that it's not effective. That's what we do in sales,
That's that's actually very interesting, because on the last session we spoke about pattern disrupts. We'll get into that a little bit after in regards to objection handling, but that's exactly it. The selling profession is not dying. It's still there. We still have to do our job. So people aren't objecting to you, Jason or Jessica. They're objecting to some of the bad sellers or bad scripts or things that they've heard. So it's the onus is on us to, I guess, do better there.
Yes, definitely. I mean, you sort of, hit the hammer on the nail there with, hey, we still have to sell. We still have a job to do, But having some simple empathy and being able to acknowledge where the person might be coming from is super powerful. So the question I always ask, and I love what's coming in the chat. You guys keep the chatter coming. It's really good to see how you guys are taking this. The thing that I think about, and a question I always ask reps, is what is the prospect thinking that they are not saying? So when a prospect says not interested, and it's at the very top of your cold call, you said, hey, Jason with Dooley here. I know I'm catching you out of the blue, not interested, right? When the prospect does that, what are they thinking? Because it's a little more layered and in depth than not interested. It's, oh God, another salesperson.
Yeah.
I don't need what this person's selling. I'm in the middle of something. I thought this was someone else. And the way that you can just simply acknowledge to their objection, really, of just being cold called is, Saad, sounds like I caught you in the middle of something.
Yeah.
Totally understandable if now's not a good time. I'm going to empathize with them. Right? It's called cognitive empathy, right? Talking to what you think the person might be thinking or feeling. And then I'm going to validate where they're coming from. So empathize, validate, and then I can go in for my ask.
Yeah.
Hey, I know I probably caught you in the middle of something, but you got a minute for me to tell you why I'm calling, and then you can let me know if you want to keep chatting, right? I'm going to greet the objection with empathy and then validate where they're coming from. And then I'm going to make my ask. And how you handle the objection obviously is going to be different depending on if it's like in the first 10 seconds of the call versus a couple minutes in.
I guess.
But I'll go ahead.
Oh, sorry, I didn't want to cut you off. Continue.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I just get excited. So I guess that's so let's break this down even more. Let's focus on the first bit. How do you get them to even give you the 27 seconds or even give you the 30 seconds? Because that's the first objection you want to get past, right? And I'm probably going to be repeating what you've just said, Jason, is we're still selling. We still have to do our job. They're professionals. They also get, we still have to do our job. So what if we can find a way to just handle that and tell them that? So we touched on this previously as well, but one of my favorite things to do is use a pattern disrupt. And you can use, literally, you can spin this in any way you like, friends. But two of my go-to lines are, the first one is, I think I stole this from Kyle Coleman, so it's not mine, but it just hit like it was eureka when I first read it. It was this. Also, you said Jason from Dooley here earlier, so I wrote that down. We'll have that conversation after. So, but anyways, so my favorite line was, hey, hey, Jason, you're probably going to hate me because this is a cold call, but would you like to hang up or roll the dice? Saad from Dooley here, by the way. So it's a little cheeky, it's a little fun, but you know, we're addressing, would you say to elicit a laugh? Yeah, absolutely. Why not? The other line that I loved using on a Monday morning is this. Hey, do you hate receiving cold calls as much as I love making them, or as much as I hate making them? Ha ha ha! Just trying to do my job. Saad from Dooley here, by the way. Get them to just break that down, break that awkwardness by telling them, hey, we're actually speaking the same language. I know this is awkward for you as well.
And you're making it more human.
Yes. Jessica, what line do you like to use for your opener?
Well, being on Saad's team, it's typically one of those two. I
How does
also
the respond, by the way? What do people say? What's the response you get when you use it?
a lot of the time people are happy to roll the dice because it is personal, or I guess it is brought down to a human level. It's not, hello, this is Jessica calling from Julie. How's your day going? It's a little bit cheeky. It's a little bit funny. It's very on brand for Julie as well. It's a very fun company to work for. I also did a little bit of research, and simply changing the one word from how's your day going to how have you been? You get through their first gate a little bit more. So I found a bit of success with that as well, because it sounds familiar. You sound like you know who you're speaking with.
I love that. I think the opener is so important because, objection handling is about preventing objections. The objection you need to prevent in the first 30 seconds is, are you a telemarketer? Are you trying to sell me insurance or like a freaking warranty upgrade or something? Like, that's the objection you need to prevent first. I'll give you guys another one that one of my clients uses that I thought was really good. Instead of asking, did I catch you at a bad time? You do something like this. And I think the key is to put a big old smile on your face when you do your cold calls. So if you're calling on a recorded line, it might sound something like this. Hey, Saad, Jason calling on a recorded line. I don't suppose I caught you at the worst possible time, did I? And I listened to recordings of these reps make it, tons of recordings, and every single time they're like, no, it's not the worst time, but it's not great. Go ahead, Saad, what do you got? What do you got, Jessica?
Yeah.
And it's like, I don't suppose I caught you at the worst possible time, did I? And that smile, it just totally comes through the phone. That's so big. And the goal, because people are putting this in the chat, the goal is not to make the person laugh. If you can get them to laugh, that's a byproduct of you bringing in some really good positive energy to the call. It's not a failure if they don't laugh, okay? Mirroring is about getting the prospect to mirror you, really more than mirroring them. Like, get them up to your energy level. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then to build on that as well, also inviting the prospect to say no upfront to something that's really not a no for you. It's Chris Voss, right? He teaches that to allow someone to say no so that they've got all their no's out of the way, and then you can go on with your job and talk to them about what you're trying to talk about.
Jess is actually very good at that, because even if it's not just a cold call, I feel like the same kind of objections come in. If we think about it from a psychology lens, it's the same kind of objection when somebody's coming on a demo. They're more confused than excited. Nobody's taking a cold call or sales call excited. They're all confused. So there are multiple ways where we can kind of just meet them halfway or get them to meet us. We always, Jason, you said a great point. We always talk about match your prospect's tone. No, let's get them on our tone. Let's get them to buy into us. Literally, you are so spot on. Let's break the scripts down. When I interview people, the first thing that I'm looking for is, how are you talking? Are you talking like this, or are you talking like this? I don't want somebody to be, hey, no, I don't need that. But just have a little bit of je ne sais quoi, a little bit going for you. If I call you, would I want to talk to you? This is not data driven. This is not too whatever. If you're fun to talk to, you'll probably be fun to work with as well.
Yep. Jessica, is Saad like this every day? Because this is hilarious to me. I get to experience it once every month or whatever. Is he like this every day? That's why are you desensitized to it by now?
Totally desensitized. It's a joy. It's a pleasure.
This is, believe me.
So next part of the call then I guess is once they give you the stage, to talk to them, what objections do you guys usually run across at this point? So prospects like, yeah, sure, I'll roll the dice. At that kind of chunk, that part, because we haven't really gotten to the middle part of the call yet. We're still kind of like at the introduction. What objections do you guys run across the most at that point?
Yes, take over.
I guess specifically for Dooley, we can't really jump into the pitch because we do sell to so many different personas. So I think what's most important, I guess this is before you actually jump on the call, is setting up a categorization of personas. So say today's VP day, I'm going to lock in an hour or 2 hours, 3 hours, however it might be, to just call VPs. So then at least you're selling to the same persona, so you can build out the same talk track. So if I'm selling to a VP, I'm going to have a different conversation to if I'm selling to an AE, or trying to engage with an AE, trying to get them interested in the product. So I think that that's probably the first step that needs to be taken care of, is just understanding your persona and understanding what triggers them and what is going to be going to incite an emotive response.
The other thing that you can add to that Jess, is just the part that as soon as they first question, people ask them, what is Dooley? And instead of pitching, that's what I was kind of alluding to earlier. So you're giving them more questions where they can start formulating what problem we actually want to talk about. So it's like, that's the biggest objection. What is Dooley? That I feel like everybody should be getting that as well. Like if I tell somebody, hey, I'm calling from whatever, they'll be like, okay, whatever is that? I can literally lose you by starting to pitch you, or I know everybody who uses Salesforce is going through the pain that we try to solve for. I can fix that into your head, or, hey, do you go through this? This is what sales leaders come to talk to us about. I don't want to assume that you go through this, but based on my research, this is what I believe could be there. Am I wrong to assume that? But Jason, you tell me, you're the expert here.
I love this. Hey, I teach it and I do it myself. You guys do a lot more of the actual cold calling than I do. So you guys are experts here too. I learned just as much from reps, honestly, about this as I do doing it myself and teaching it. So what I love that you did there that I want to point out is, one, what is company? It sounds like, there's a level of interest there. It's really an objection that is disguised as like interest, right? So you really need to assume that the question, when someone asks, what is your solution? What is this company? That they're really asking, well, why would I want to talk to you again?
Yeah.
Right? That's the thing that you need to answer. And the best way to handle objections is through customer stories. It's through a story. It's just a really simple who, what, how. So if someone was like, and I'm going to totally just wing this because I don't know your guys' stuff as well as you do, but if someone was like, hey, well, what is Dooley? Hey, great question, Jessica. Typically VPs of sales use Dooley to accomplish a couple things. We had a VP of sales at XYZ company that wanted their account executives to do more outbound, and they just kept getting bogged down on all the busy work of doing it. And one of the ways that we helped them was just getting a nice workflow set up to increase the outbound volume to make it easier for them to set meetings. And here was the result. I don't suppose that's something that you're thinking about running across anything like that right now, is it? And I need to get that a little tighter, but I need the who. Oh, someone like you. The what. Hey, they were trying to accomplish this, but this thing kept getting in the way. And then how? Here's how we help them.
Yeah.
And then I love the line that you said, Saad, too, around, I don't want to make any assumptions here. You might totally have this handled, but is this by chance something that you're thinking about right now? Like that is the best way to handle all of the objections for the most part, besides like timing stuff we'll talk about here in a second.
Yeah.
But that's a really great way to handle the not interested. We already have a solution, all of those kind of objections.
Yeah.
Customer story.
It's so funny. It's actually not funny. It's painful, but that's how we make our money. That's a bad joke. But the prep is important in the sense that, let's maybe take a side step. What is personalization? Personalization is actually about hitting relevance. I know we're kind of talking something else over here, but it's about how can I engage multiple people in one day? If I have to make 10, 20, 30 calls, I can't guarantee success, right? At the same time, if I have to make 10, 20, 30 emails, if I put time in personalizing them, can I guarantee they're going to get open? Maybe. Can I guarantee I'm going to get a reply back for a personalized email versus a non-personalized email? Absolutely not. If somebody can give me direct numbers on personalization and it guarantees you a meeting, I'm not saying I don't believe in personalization, but I think there's a next level on top of that, where it actually comes from the basics of personalization. It's relevance. Problems are relevant. Thought process, thoughts, issues, things that reps are going through, leadership is going through, a business is going through, is relevant. These problems are consistent across all segments. So if you understand a business, you can completely understand what Michelle as a VP is going through at Dooley, what Kyle Coleman as a VP is going through at Clary. And that's what sells. That's when you truly understand your industry, the people. That's literally what we did with Jess. Jess joined us from Swarovski. So in the first 2 weeks or so, we were like, hey, the only thing that needs to happen here is that some of the conversation, some of the way we're going to do discovery is going to change. It might become a little bit more layer, but you have to put the time into understanding our ICP, our people, and why they'd want to talk to us, why they'd want to buy. That sells. That is your way of getting ahead of objections.
Yep. And when you talk less about what you do, like what Dooley does, the features of Dooley, you'll get less. We already have that. We already have a solution. We don't need that. If you talk about what your product does, you're going to get a lot of, we already do that.
Yeah.
Because here's what we do. As a prospect, I'm thinking, do we do that? Do I have one of those? Yeah, check. Okay, cool. I don't need to talk to you guys anymore.
Yeah.
It's giving the prospect an easy
That
out.
Exactly. Yep. That's not why senior stakeholders buy stuff anyways. They don't buy it for the features. That's
You
not
know
what they want to talk to you about.
What's interesting, I spoke with Matthew Green from Sales Assembly yesterday. Sales Assembly basically helps new startups get set up with, and from anything and everything, whether it's tech stack or just, sales resources. This was such a eureka moment. He was like, why are sales leaders talking to you or other businesses? What are they trying to do? I'm like, every sales leader knows their Salesforce is messy, so they're probably doing something to solve for it. All these problems that we're going to talk about, you just said it, they are probably doing something to solve for it. So why would they want to talk to me? They'd want to talk to me because I can help them optimize that. That's what they're all looking for. A sales leader is in their position, the VP is in their position because they know what to do. But the thing is, there's new software, new things coming up every single day. So our job is to help them optimize. Our job is to help them gain more confidence in their forecast. I took that from you, Jason, from our last call. Yeah.
Love it.
Cool. There's comments coming in as well. Should we just look at the comments a little bit before we continue move?
Sure.
Yeah.
We got a lot of smart cookies on the call today. I'm looking at these.
It's when Luke is, I'm not just picking up Luke's comment because he's agreeing with me, but Luke says 100%, Saad, if you can speak their language, they're going to listen. Yeah, that's a good one. Senior stakeholders don't buy features, they buy problem validation. This actually came up because we're thinking about enterprise companies the other day, and enterprise companies have already have their budgets built out. They already have the projects built out. I think it's very difficult to call the enterprise company and be like, hey, fit Dooley in. That's where you have to find out if there is a project, a budget, something top of mind where Dooley can kind of fit in and come optimized, because that's what everybody wants to do, right? They want to sell to enterprise. But then how do you control that enterprise sale? You genuinely can't till you don't have something that's not top of mind for them.
Yeah. Yep. The Jonathan's got a question in the Q&A, I think that would be good around gatekeepers. Do you guys want to talk about that for a second? That might be kind of an interesting one to do.
Yeah. Jonathan, role play to work, behavior. I can't, what was the question, Jason?
Click on it's in the Q&A section. Yeah, click that Q&A button.
Yeah, sorry, I was looking at the other. Jonathan, how do you deal with the gatekeeper? I'll tell you, this might be a bad answer, but again, don't take anything that I'm saying face value. Don't call headquarters anymore. Use tools like Apollo, ZoomInfo, try and find cell phone numbers. that old playbook of calling gatekeepers, calling 100 people a day to get your work done is dying. There's a tool. So when I was selling to lawyers, we used to get spiffs for making 100 dials a day. There's a tool called Orem. Shout out Orem. I don't know. I haven't bought them, but just, I love what they do. That tool can make 100 dials for you in 10 minutes. So what I was getting spiff and money on is not a skill anymore. You want to work smart. So don't call gatekeepers. Think about this. What does that 5-10 minute get you? And I know this might be a lazy answer, but ask yourself, is there a way to get around the gatekeeper? Is there a way to get to the DM through LinkedIn, through a video, through something that might be more relevant? That's literally what I used to deal with selling at Clio. We had all headquarters numbers. This was 2 years ago before the pandemic. Everybody was in the office, and it was all gatekeepers. Learned a lot of lessons. Don't sell to gatekeepers.
I
Oh, sorry.
I want to comment on that. I mostly agree with that, but I think there's a lot of context that's important. So I
Okay.
think if we're selling to salespeople, we're probably not going to be calling into people's assistants. But enterprise, knowing how to talk to an executive assistant is really important for enterprise.
Yeah.
And it also, like, I just started working with a company that sells into school districts. You're going to have to, like, there's not going to be a lot of Zoom info, like cell phone data for these people, so you're not going to be able to get the sell. I do think the first thing, Arts Object wrote a book called Smart Calling, and he talked about, let's not call them gatekeepers. Let's call them assistants. And when you call an executive assistant, the ones that I have worked with at companies that are my clients, these are very intelligent people. Like, they manage the person's schedule. I do all my scheduling through them. Literally, they are in charge of this person's like logistical life. Or they might be a chief of staff that's like the second hand to the executive team at the C-suite. So I think the biggest thing though with that is, this is going to sound insanely simple, and most of the stuff I do is just ridiculously simple. Ask for help.
Yeah.
A lot of times people call in and they say, yeah, my name's Jason with Blissful Prospecting. I was calling because I want to talk to Jessica Meyer. Like, okay, like no reason, like nothing like that, And if you called in and said, hey, my name's Jason, I'm with Blissful Prospecting. I've been trying to get a hold of Jessica Meyer because I noticed you guys have been doing a lot of hiring on the AE team right now. And typically what I find when that happens is sales leaders want to ramp those reps up really quickly and get them doing outbound. But I was hoping that you might be able to help me out with something real quick. And just a clear ask for help. Is Jessica even the person I should be talking to about that? So if you can get the direct line, or you can call in through a main number and say, hey, I'd like to talk to so-and-so's office. And this is more of an enterprise or large mid-market kind of thing. If you can call in and be buddy-buddy with the executive assistant, another thing that you could do too that works really well is, hey, Saad, can you do me a favor? If I send Jessica Meyer an email, could I CC you on that email and maybe follow up with you if for some reason Jessica doesn't get back to me? So I think context is really important. I just want to make sure to point that out.
You're right. I literally posted an apology in the chat. I get very just energetic. But you're right. You're completely right. I was thinking complete from gatekeeper legal, and I literally made an enterprise play earlier, but exactly at my last company, the HR was the exec assistant, and she was handling the calendar for my VP and our CEO. And you can get to them without getting through her. So exactly to your point, is I literally, my apologies for being too just in my center right now, but to get to the right person, you have to ask. The amount of time I have also asked, like, hey, are you the right person to be having this conversation? Can I CC you in this so that they can open the email and they seem like it's familiar to you? So yes, don't take everything face value, but it's the framework, I guess, over here is this as well, is like that exec assistant has priorities, has problems, has things top of mind. So what can I do for her? What can I give her? How can I help her so she can help me?
Yep. One other little nugget that I got this one from a client is, okay, depending on who you call into, some of the decision makers are a little old school when it comes to technology. So they have their assistant print out things for them and put it on their desk. So a question to ask is, and hey, Saad, before I reach out to Jessica, if you had something really important to give her, I'm really kind of curious, how would you give that to her? Sometimes what I hear is people print stuff out and maybe put it on the desk. Is there anything like that that you do? Or sometimes they'll be like, yeah, we put a sticky note on her desk. Like, hey, how about this? If I send you an email here, it's going to have a lot of the stuff we talked about that's relevant in there. Like, would it be too big of a favor to ask for you to print that out and put it on their desk? I'd really appreciate that.
Yeah. It's
You
so,
know, so you don't know how this person helps that
yeah.
decision maker too. That's a really good, insightful thing to ask. Like, you have to get good at this in enterprise. You
Jess,
got to be able to work with the assistant and figure out the workflow and get that person bought in. And yeah, so I'll stop there.
no, keep going. Cause I was gonna say, I want, like, we're always talking SaaS, but there's other industries at play here as well. There's other people that hold more power. Jess, bring a bit more color in your time at Swarovski and how these conversations, some of these objections, and how just, I feel like you'd probably be involved in some of those conversations as well.
Yeah, I mean, to Jason's point, the executive assistant is just as important as other stakeholders within the team. So yes, cold calling and getting in front of the prospect that you need to, the decision maker, is the end goal, but often you have to deviate from the path, and you have to make nice with as many people along the way as possible. And kind of the overflow benefit of that is that the company that you're representing, the name is throughout the organization that you're speaking with, and it's familiar. And I think people really respond to familiarity. It's not as offensive as, hi, do you have time for a cold call?
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
John said something I thought was hilarious in the chat. He said, I view gatekeepers as VP of first impressions. You know, that'd be kind of a funny thing. Like, hey, Saad, you know, as a VP of first impressions as you are, I'm sure you want to make sure that the stuff that lands on Jessica's desk is really important. Yeah, they get a little chuckle, a little laugh. I think levity is
Yeah.
super important when you cold call. Smile,
Yeah.
be a little tongue in cheek if you can. Like, you could be the highlight of that person's day, because most of the people that talk to these folks, I mean, they're having to shut down people. It doesn't feel, I know it doesn't feel good getting rejected, but it doesn't really feel good just rejecting people all day either. Not that I have to do that. Maybe someone here watching this is is rejecting people a lot, but that doesn't feel good either. You know, put yourself in the prospect's shoes. It doesn't feel good to just shut down people all day. You can be the like little bright, you know, little shiny spot in that person's day. You know what I
It's
mean?
okay to be cheesy. I genuinely think it's okay to be cheesy. Also, y'all have gotten a sick cold opener for executive assistants and VP of first impressions through Jason and Jonathan. I literally wrote that down. I might try that.
Yeah.
But I think sellers are now enjoying their job more. Maybe. The reason why I say that is because there's so many more sellers now. That could be for a lot of reasons. There's a lot of money in the industry. They're probably enjoying the industry or where the industry is heading, whether it's tech selling or other forms of selling. I have friends who are investment bankers, investment bankers, and they're moving into tech sales. And simply, I asked one of them why. He's like, I was a consultant there. I'm a consultant here. I'm like, okay, perfect. What else? I'm like, what's the money like? They're like, it's maybe 20, 50, 30,000 less, but I'm enjoying my money more. I'm living my money more. I'm loving my money more. I'm also enjoying making it more. I'm not just handling somebody's portfolio. I'm not just handling them snake away millions of dollars. It's actually solving problem. People are actually buying into me before they're buying into the product. Think about all these validation points. Think about all these things. We always think about those big wins hitting quota, but why do we not? At least Jess knows this. The amount of times we're talking about these small wins. Jess, how many times do you get beyond excited? You send me a call after you've had a demo, after you've had a discovery call. You're like, hey, I asked them this question. I got this down. I made them feel this way.
Yeah, all the time. It's super exciting. It's super exciting. I think another important thing to keep in mind when thinking about cold calling and getting past the no and doing all that stuff is that further down the sales cycle, I mean, at Dually, it's a very collaborative sale. We ask a lot of questions. We like to understand what our prospects are going through and how we can solve a lot of their pain points. So taking that into the first touch point and bringing that full sales cycle experience into that first call, making it collaborative, making it understanding, leading with empathy, changing it from a me-centric call to a you-centric call. That for me, I found super valuable.
Let's go on to objections, and people want to hear from Jessica more. So my apologies. Let's bring her in more.
Yeah, come on, Saad. What's going on, dude?
I feel bad. My apologies. A lot of caffeine. Okay, so let's. I know. I think. Yeah, how to handle it when we say, Marissa asks how to handle it when they say we already use something like this, we are not interested. I'm gonna make this is now rapid fire. I'll be the judge. Jason, it's all you now. How do we handle somebody saying we already use something like this, we are not interested?
I mean, at first thoughts, obviously we weren't privy to the information that has been divulged already, but it sounds like there might have been a bit of an info dump up front.
Yes.
So it sounds like the person making the cold call might have said, hey, I'm calling from X. We do this, 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 this. How does that sound? And that's kind of giving, like we were saying before, it gives the prospect an easy out. It gives them an easy way to say, I'm busy. We have something similar. Get off my phone line. So I think maybe it's more about the setup versus the info dump. Jason?
So I agree with that 100%. Again, everything is about preventing objections. So if you get this one where someone's like, well, hey, we already use Dooley is maybe a hard example because there aren't a lot of products out there like Dooley. Yeah. So so I have a client that sells a CRM solution, right? So if someone's like, hey, we already have a CRM, I would use the empathize, validate, offer, that framework, and I'll kind of share how that sounds. So prospects like, yeah, we actually already have a CRM. Hey, Saad, I was calling you and I was actually expecting that you have a CRM. So it sounds like you might be taken care of here, but I am curious if you're willing to share. I know that you're using Salesforce. Oftentimes what we hear is that what people really like about Salesforce is it's got all the bells and whistles, everything that you could possibly need it to do. But one thing I hear people in higher ed complain about sometimes is it's really expensive. I'm really curious, what's your experience been? So I'm going to do the love, hate. What do people really like about that competing product, and what do people not like? So there's another solution that a client sells. It's a learning platform, right? Kind of like one of their competitors is Udemy. So if someone's like, oh yeah, we already use Udemy to upskill our team. Great. I'm really glad that you value upskilling your team and providing this type of education. That's awesome. Before I go though, I got a quick question for you if you don't mind sharing. What I hear with Udemy is that people really like it because there's such a diverse, like, topics, subjects, like everything you could think of. But one of the complaints we oftentimes hear is that for data skills in particular, it's just kind of light. But you would know better than I. What's your experience been?
Yeah.
So if I know my competitive battle cards and where we do really well, I can compare back and forth. And the hate part, or don't like this part, if I can talk about something that's top of mind. So think about the sales calls that you do. When people come to you and they decide to go with your solution and move from one of your competitors, why did they do that? What is it that they found frustrating? That's something that you can bring in. And the reason why I want to start with things that they like is, don't call the baby ugly, as they say, right? There is inherent shame that people feel in making bad decisions. Like, think of all the times you've messed up in your life, and admitting those things that you messed up to a complete stranger is like, that's just not something that people like to do. So the goal is not to make the person feel like they made a bad choice by picking your competitor. It's to say, hey, people really like this. I know you probably put a lot of thought into it, Jessica, but I'm really kind of curious. Sometimes people don't really like this part of it. What's your experience been? What's your take? Is that something that you run across? So that's a way that you can kind of talk around that in a way that's pretty disarming.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it doesn't sound scripted, which is also disarming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
You're all about the frameworks, aren't you, Jason? I love it.
Got to have frameworks. Yeah. I think the framework is important because scripts are great. I'm advocating really for or against them necessarily, but to expect someone to just say the word for word things, it's kind of like if you're driving and you have to use a GPS to navigate through your neighborhood. That GPS is going to get you there, but you know what? Without that GPS, like, dude, you're screwed. So what if one of the roads is closed down and you don't know where to go because you followed the same route? You don't have an understanding of where you're going. That's what you need to bring into this. Like the framework's going to be like, oh, cool. I know where north, south, east, west is. I know that I-5's on this side. I know that 205's here. You know, having that understanding with frameworks, I think, is super important so that you can be in the moment working within the framework versus trying to say the perfect words. It's rarely ever the perfect words in my experience that get the meeting. It's the act of having empathy for the person, not the words that you use to have empathy.
Jess, I don't know if you recall this verbatim, but what is the analogy I like to use with sales leaders in the video game? I don't know if you remember, share. If not, then I'll add.
Gosh, and the video game? No, I've blanked.
Okay, so we sell to sellers, right? So if selling is a video game, then selling to sales leaders is a final boss. Let's think of it this way. If selling is a video game, then sales leaders are probably the final boss. Now, to win over this boss, you need to impress them. Let's say, when we're selling Dooley, it's a great product, but we're selling to people that know it all, done it all, that are big egos, but are very open to learning and talking. Big egos, remember. So Jason, you hit on this. They don't, like, as much as, yeah, we can poke and challenge, you don't want to kind of make somebody feel like, oh, you don't want to throw them away. So while at the same time, let's understand psychology. There's new, as the selling job is becoming magnified, there's new sellers coming into the industry every single day. All these new sellers are bringing new tactics every single day. As a manager, as a coach, we can't go and learn all these new tactics. That's a death sentence. That's a stress sentence. That's a burnout sentence. Versus what Jason is talking about. If you master frameworks, you can go to any company and fit your script into that framework. You can go to any company, you can talk to the VP of sales, you can go talk to the executive assistant of impression and, you know, fix them into the conversation, I guess, and take things forward.
Yep. The act of empathizing with someone, that cognitive empathy, it just, dude, it feels so good to be understood. When you're struggling with someone and someone just says, oh God, it sounds like you've had quite the day. Totally understandable. Like what you just went through is, oh man, I couldn't imagine going through that. You're like, yeah, this person gets it. You know what I mean? You can do a small bit of that during, you know, the cold call when you're handling the objection. I think the big thing is having, if you can go from assumptive to curious, it's going to make your tone non-accusatory. The analogy I always like to use is if I was selling personal training and I saw someone walk into the gym and I just said, hey, you look like you could use a personal trainer. Like people feel like, dude, what the hell, man? You know what I mean? Versus having some genuine curiosity, be like, hey, Saad, good to see you. I noticed you're pretty consistent about coming into the gym, and I'm really curious because sometimes I hear that, you know, people, you know, want to be as consistent in the gym as they are in the kitchen, you know, and with like how they eat and all that other kind of stuff. Have you ever put together a custom meal plan before? You know, that'd be a way different approach and response than like pointing out a problem, you know, or telling someone that they need something. Flattery, if done in a genuine way, is like, it works. Hey, Jessica, you probably know better than I because I saw that you've been doing this for 10 years. So you've probably put a lot of thought into this. But sometimes what I hear is that people really like XYZ about this. But, you know, this other thing that comes up is just kind of a pain in the butt. What's your experience been? You know, you can insert little things like that and just be human. Like give the person the benefit of the doubt. If they're experienced and they've been in the job, they've probably thought a lot about this.
That's let's take this further a little bit with the empathy piece, because this comes up. Jess, I don't have a good answer for this yet. What do you say to people when they say take me off your list?
One, and that's actually a question that's popped up in the Q&A and I think as well in the chat a couple of times. It is a tough one. If I'm on the phone with them, typically will ask, absolutely, no question, no worries. But I'd love to understand why. Why are you the wrong person for me to speak to? Am I reaching out to the wrong persona? Are you in the wrong team? Like, is this a me problem, or is this just, are you time poor? And then from there, you kind of get to go down the funnel and see where you go. Often saying simple, a prospect simply saying, take me off your list into a meeting, I'm driving, don't talk to me. So yeah, I think it's more questioning, and it's leading with empathy.
Jason, I feel like it's to Jess's point. I think it's again one of those things. They're not actually just asking you to take off that list. It's it's an objection. It's probably coming from, they could be the wrong person. They probably could be getting multiple cold calls that day for the wrong reason, or they could just be having a bad day. But how do you coach people on this, Jason?
I mean, it's very similar to not interested. When someone asks you to take them off your list, you have to honor that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I like how you responded, Jessica, right away, like, hey, I could totally do that. And then like the empathy piece is, hey, sounds like I might have caught you in the middle of something totally understandable since I'm calling you out of the blue. Before I let you go, I'm really curious. The reason I was reaching out to you is I actually did a lot of research on you, Jessica. And what I found was XYZ. And typically what I find is that folks like you are trying to, accomplish this. And sometimes this comes up. That's not by chance something that you're dealing with, is it?
Yeah.
And just doing that customer story again.
Yeah.
Right?
Always
People
keeps
like you want to accomplish things. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because that person who's saying no could have some valuable information to give you. Hey, I will still take your name off the list. I'm not going to get you to hate me or my company.
Yep.
But that same thing to what Jason said, their business could be having a problem. Also, don't call people if you, I take that back. There is a little bit of value into spraying and praying your cold calls if your list is built off of relevance. But ideally, call people knowing that you've done the process, that you know they have a problem, and just exactly that is like, hey, I'm going to let you go. But like, if not you, then if this problem is relevant, can you point me in the right direction? If not, have a good day.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it might be as simple as them saying, look, I'm about to leave the company, or I'm not a decision maker, I'm not in that team. And then it's asking for their help. To go back to what Jason was saying before about the VP of First Impressions, you can ask the prospect, okay, thank you so much for that information, definitely taking you off the list, but can you help me get in touch with the right person?
People often answer. They used to happen when I was talking to lawyers, and they used to come up quite a bit. I'm retiring, I'm not the right person, I'm busy. And then just bringing them down, toning it down, and asking the follow-up. Jason, you said this early in the call. People want to help, whether it's us trying to sell them or whether it's them even just trying to get off a call. People do want to help, give people the benefit of the doubt. There's enough good out there in the world. I made it a little soppy, but just, there's good in the world.
Yeah. I kind of think about people that are, assholes on the phone to you is no different than the people that are, on the road.
Yeah.
The people that cut you off or they freak out and stuff. It's like most of those people are not, like, they're just having a rough day.
They're having a bad day.
This is just that person, acting out. Will Smith, big thing happened in the Oscars, right? It's like, it's like there's obviously some personal stuff that he's going through. And if you've watched his documentary, which I have on YouTube, the guy's going through a lot of personal stuff, and that doesn't excuse him being violent towards physically violent towards another person. But it's like, dude, there's just so much going on there under the hood that wasn't just that joke.
Pure
you know
lash
what I mean?
That was pure lash.
No different than
years. Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's no different than your prospects. You just don't know, what they're going through. So have some compassion. Have some compassion. Have some compassion for yourself also.
Yeah.
If someone's like a total a-hole to you on the call, it's like, dude, they don't even know who you are. That doesn't have anything to do with like your value as a human being. Have some compassion.
I did this last week. I ran a call with one of our AEs, Jackie, and whenever we do call reviews, we always preach active listening, but it's like when you're not there, you don't realize how sometimes you miss out. And I missed out on something. And then I was being extra hard. I was like, I can't believe I missed that out. I'm like, I've been coaching you guys on this, and I can't believe I missed this out. And everybody's like, we love you, we trust you, you're good. I'm like, I can't believe I did that. So yeah, to everybody out there, be easy on yourself, I guess. I'm taking your advice, Jason.
Yeah.
Okay, next one. So, what do you say to people when when they ask you, "Hey, is this a cold call?"
Simply say yes, because it is. Yeah, absolutely. And then jump into the talk track that you've built out
Yeah.
based on the personas.
The reason for
Start
my
questioning.
call is
Yeah. Yeah. And start drilling down on the questions, start asking them just so you can get the little golden nuggets of information so that you're able to build out your persona talk track for them.
What about you,
Yeah,
Jay?
I don't have anything to add to that. Yeah, it is. But more importantly, Jessica, I did a lot of research and I found XYZ, and I'm really curious. Could I take a minute to just share what I found, and you let me know if you want to continue this or you want to hang up? Like just address it.
Yeah. Address the elephant in
Be
the
honest.
room.
The
Same with
next
how'd you
one,
get my number? You know what I mean? How'd you get my cell phone?
I used to say this to finance people. I say, "Oh, I use this thing called the yellow pages of the internet. It's called Zoom Info," or just say, I guess, I'll just say Zoom Info. Now people know it, but
Yeah.
yeah, no, it used to be quite odd. These objections are also, I feel like, changing in the last year because now it's around cell phone numbers. Sorry, Christina just messaged us. One last one. Yeah. One last one, which is my favorite one, is what do you all say when somebody says, "Can you email me more info?" This is my favorite one.
I'll take that one. This is
Okay.
one directly from Saad. Absolutely. 100% I can send you more info. And then you ask a series of questions to kind of drill down on what is most relevant to them. And then simply end with asking, how do I stay top of mind without being annoying? Because it brings it back to being human. And then you're also getting the information that you need to be relevant to them. I mean, is it that they want to be, I mean, with this particular case that Saad was speaking about, this person was like, look, it's not the time for us to be buying right now. We've got 6 months until we're going to reopen this conversation. So Saad asked, how do we stay top of mind without being annoying? And she's like, look, I want to come to your webinars. I want to learn about what Dooley's talking about because we've got some interesting conversations being had. And so that's a really great way to kind of stay top of mind without checking in every 2, 3, 4 weeks saying, hi, just looping back on this. How are you going?
I have another one to add on that. So this was an interesting example where this lady literally told us, she's like, "I know how great your product is. I don't need that." But she told us that she wants to build new processes and she cares about sales excellence. So I was like, hey, we're known for, as much as we're known for our product, just, we have all these other things as well. Like, how do we stay top of mind without being annoying? But then for the cold call front, one thing that we used to use, and this is on the master script as well, Jess. This was a favorite one. This I got from one of my previous reps. His name is Jack Baldwin. He's an AE now at Commerce Bear. Jack used to say this. He's like, hey, every time I share this, it's a bit of a thing. It creates more questions than answers. So can you tell me what is most relevant to you so I ensure you open it? Secondly, let's also just put time next week. So this way you have some time to go through this and we'll go through this together. I'll share with you the key points. I'll just, take a deeper dive into some things that's relevant to you. This way we've gone through anything and everything for you. And I've given you anything and everything you need to make an informed decision. So when and if the time is right, it's a step in the right direction for you and not a jump. And if not, then you've learned something new. You've parted ways. We'll part ways of friends, and you can keep us in the back pocket for your next board meeting when you have to come up with new ideas. But ideally, get them like the give and get thing. Like, hey, I'll give you this, but typically this creates more questions, and you will have more questions. Let's just connect next week, and let's go through it. If you don't want it, no worries. But this way, I've done my job.
I love that. This creates more questions than answers. So I think you mentioned something that's important is you do want to ask for the meeting again after you get some of the intel. One thing I like to do is just the same way as you guys. Yeah, totally happy to send that over. A question you can ask there at the top is, I'm really curious, who else is going to be looking at this email? Who are you going to forward it to?
Yeah.
Right. So that's a thing that you can do. And then once you get some of that info, you could be like, hey, can I make a suggestion? And usually the prospect's like, yeah, what's up? Everything here is like, these are all things that we hear customers like XYZ experiencing.
Yeah.
And what would take a lot less time than me writing this email and then you having to spend the time to actually read it is if we put 15 minutes on the calendar next week. I'd be happy to run you through it. At that time, you can decide right there if what we have is worth spending more time, or you might decide that you don't want to continue chatting with me after that. How's that sound?
Just give me your calendar, Jason. I'll book it right now. Booking it right now. It's convincing. So I know people are here because we're gonna do a mock cold call. We're also approaching tight minutes, 5 more minutes. So yeah, let's just jump into it. Jess, you want to run it with Jason?
I feel like you should do it, Saad. You're the pro.
Okay. No pressure. No pressure. No pressure. No pressure. All right. Cool. So, okay, Jason, you're VP of Sales. I'm probably gonna butcher it, but let's just do it. So,
Yeah, this is Jason.
hey, Jason, this is a cold call, and you're probably going to hate me for this, but would you like to hang up or roll the dice? Saad from Dooley here, by the way.
Okay, I'll roll the dice. What's up, Saad?
So Jason, we work with other sales leaders who are using Salesforce, and they typically tell us that they use it to optimize their data capture and to move deals faster. But then because their reps aren't actually updating all their notes and stuff like that, and they're having to chase their reps to input data, they don't know how some deals move faster, and they can't ramp new reps, and they're always looking to optimize. I don't want to assume, but as a VP of sales, are you going through any of that right now? Is that kind of top of mind for you?
I mean, we already have Salesforce, so yeah, we already have a CRM.
Yeah. So
I think we're
perfect. So we worked with some other customers who've told us that they've had to bring in sales ops people to just help with their territory management. All the data is left, right, and center as they're going through hypergrowth. Do you go through those typical Salesforce pains at all, or am I completely assuming here?
Yeah, I suppose there's a bit of it, especially when we forecast.
Yeah.
You know, there's some of the data isn't accurate. But so what do you guys do? What was the company again?
Yeah, so we're Dooley. We work with companies like yours, typically I'll name Asana, and that's what they helped us. That's what we do with them. They brought us in to help them optimize their Salesforce by making sure all their notes are captured are captured on their deals. B, because their notes and all that data was there, they were able to create playbooks from that and present it to other AEs so they can learn how to close deals and get ramped faster. Basically, that's what we do. CRM, Salesforce is meant as a data source, and Dooley is there to help sellers sell more. Would you, if this is top of mind for you, if this is something that's interesting, would you be open to learning more?
Sure.
Cool.
All right.
I also could have done better there. I should have asked one or two more questions towards the end. I jumped to the. I'm self-identifying how badly I did there, but I jumped onto the meeting. And there could have been one more, I could have drilled into the pain a little bit more, but go. Feedback.
I think that, so I like you handled the objections well. You know,
Yeah.
I think that at the beginning, if this is more of a scripting thing, that I think will prevent some of those objections.
Yeah.
Is, okay, so if you're talking to a VP of sales, I want to understand, like when I hear Salesforce, I'm automatically thinking ops, enablement. I don't freaking deal with Salesforce, dude. You know, I think if you could talk about how that's impacting things that I care about, you know, forecasting, surprises in our forecast. You mentioned this towards the end when you handled the objection, but closing rates, you know, sales cycle, shortening sales, whatever it might be. I think you need to, at the beginning, hey, I talked to a lot of sales leaders and they're using Salesforce, and typically what they find is that, you know, reps only put in about 5% of the data that they capture during calls. Why would you care about this as VP of sales? Well, what we find is that oftentimes doesn't give you and the leadership team the insights that you need to improve booking rates, you know, forecast accurately, et cetera, et cetera. Which one of those things are you thinking about right now? You know, like I think you could like scale the conversation up a little bit more to what I'm going to care about as an executive. That's my biggest feedback.
Yeah, no, I like that. I tried to wing it a little bit and fix this into your framework. And I will admit I could have done better, but those 3 relevance questions or those pain points that people think of are top of mind. And is this for you? That's typically something that we also ask in the beginning of our calls. So
Yeah.
you know what? I've been, since the last time we spoke about this, and I kind of showed you our script. I've been thinking about this part, is why would a sales leader, why would a VP of sales talk to me? How does the sales problem fit into their head more as well? And I just took this down furthermore. And you know what? On the next one, this is going to be the script. So we're going to do this again. We will do this again.
Yeah. Cool.
Cool.
Well, good job, you guys. This is fun. We're out of
Thank you,
time,
Jason.
it looks like.
Cool. Yeah. Pleasure having everybody. Should we take a couple questions before we just drop off?
I have
Or
to hop actually onto another call, but you guys
No
can
worries.
hang out for sure.
Cool. Let's just take a couple questions. But Jason, as always, a pleasure. Thank you so much, my friend.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you, everyone. And Jessica, it was nice getting to do this with you too. I know we went briefly before this, but yeah, good job, you two. Thank you, everyone. And we'll see you later.
We're learning as we
Have a great day.
All right, let's take a couple questions. So I think we've handled what's your best book to read on the subject lately? Good question. Let me quickly bring this up. That's a very good question. So, sorry, I'm in my home. I'm not wearing shoes, so it's fine. Sell the Way You Buy. It's by David Primer. He is a former VP of sales at Salesforce. He also came and trained one of my old companies, Clio. It's the best, most relevant modern selling book out there. And the more interesting thing on that is watch his YouTube, follow him on LinkedIn, because what he's not just talking about the book, but this person is talking about how you can apply it, the learnings, and he's sharing those things. I think that works a lot. I tagged Jess, Sam, and our reps, and all these sales leaders were talking about tactics and all that stuff. And I'm just like, go try it out, go rep it out and see if it works. Let's see what else. Book. Jess, you want to take one?
Nice. The next question is this being recorded? It is being recorded.
I think it's called Sell the Way You Buy by David Primer. No worries. I'll name it in here as well. Okay.
That's just to host the panelists. I'll send it.
Yeah. Any other questions? I feel like we've handled all the objections quite well. I hope so. And I guess let's say goodbyes and close it off, Jess.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been fun.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, friends. We were kind of winging it, so hope I didn't make too much of a fool of myself. But yeah, that was good. That was fun.
Thank you, Saad and Jessica. See you on part 3, everybody.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.